Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of In the Fox's Den. We've had a bit of a break because people have been on holiday, but I think we did the same this time last year. So even though people aren't going a long way on holiday, they're still having a bit of a break. But it's been well worth the wait, because today we have the most magnificent guest for you. You will know her best, I expect, as Cora in Eastenders, and before that as the wonderful Dolly in WIDOWS and She's Out. So I'm really, really happy to introduce to you the wonderful actress that is Annmitchell. Hi Anne, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you, Rick.
You're looking very well.
Thank you. You too. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've finally had a haircut. Every time I come onto these shows, I always seem to, it always seems to be about 3 weeks or more since I've had a haircut. My hair's all over the place. So now I just haven't had a shave. So now my beard is about the same length as my hair. So I'll go with that.
It looks good. It looks good.
So listen, so the last time I saw you on the television, you've just been in Silent Witness.
I have, yeah.
Which you were marvellous in, I have to say. And if anybody's watching and hasn't seen those episodes of Silent Witness, watch them now, because they were an excellent 2 episodes, and you were absolutely brilliant.
They're done in the pandemic. They were during the pandemic.
So were they socially distanced?
Yes,
then?
yes.
I didn't notice.
Huge.
I noticed that.
Yeah, yeah.
So very cleverly filmed. So Anne, I'm going to start right at the beginning. How did it all begin for you? Why choose acting over everything else? But I'm very glad you did, and everybody watching this will be very glad you did. But how did it all start?
Well, I have a funny feeling. I've thought about this, of course, as you do. This is the age I am, an age of great reflection, of course. I think it chose me in a strange way. I knew I wanted to be an actor from a very early age. I would say 6 or 7. I used to make up plays, direct them, cast them, and star in them on the gymnasium steps. I think it happened in a way. I think these things are quite kind of deep. My mother, it's not that she didn't want to be an actor, but she had tremendous interest, especially in films. Remember, I was brought up from the beginning of the war, till 1945 when it ended. These were very formative years, of course. I was about 5 when it ended. And my mother and I went to the cinema a lot, 3 times a week, actually. And my beloved stepfather, on Sundays, we went to see foreign films at the People's Palace in Highland. And that was, I was older then, about 12. That was absolutely thrilling to see French films. So I think in some way, children often act out and become what their parents might have wanted to be. That's not.
I think people miss out on that now, Anne. I really do. I think, with the advent of everybody watching things on their phones, but also what you're saying about foreign films. 2 of my favourite films are Jean de Florette and Manon des Sources. I absolutely love those films. They work in any language, and also Cinema Paradiso. So if anybody gets a chance to watch those, I think they're fabulous. They don't have to be in English. But when you were growing up, was there anything else that took your fancy? Was it just that you wanted to go into this? Was you that focused?
I think in the fact that I actually wrote plays for the gym steps, I was very interested in writing, and I was very interested in literature and history. And also, I think, again, from an early age, I think because of my beloved stepfather, who was very political, left-wing, I also learned a quality from him of being a teacher. I think I would have been a teacher had I not become an actor. But of course I've taught a great deal in my work.
Yeah, you kind of got to do both, didn't you?
Yes, I have.
But
I've been very lucky.
We'll come to that later on because you do so much, and there's loads there. But who were your heroes then? So you went to the cinema.
Okay.
So you had all these great heroes.
Yeah, Judy Garland, who I always regard, especially now as an adult, as a very underrated actor. I think she's a remarkable singer, of course, but she's an underrated actor. If you look at her work, it's as though every line that comes out of her mouth, she's just thought of. It's actually quite incredible. She was a great influence. Later in my life, amongst women, was Jenna Rowlands. Of course, she's my hero, my real hero. And strangely enough, the other influences, if you like, or who I thought were incredible, were men. People like Burt Lancaster, again, an enormously underrated actor. He was a phenomenal actor, especially as he was allowed, as when he got older, he was allowed to play more interesting parts.
Yeah.
He was a great favorite of mine. Of course, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, all those remarkably kind of strong women. And because I was brought up with three very strong women, my mother, my auntie, my grandmother, that I went towards those kind of women. In fact, it's very strange. One of the first films, I must have been about 12 or 13, that had an enormous effect on me was It Always Rains on Sunday. And strangely enough, when I worked for Terence Davies in The Deep Blue Sea, that was the film for him that also had an enormous effect. And it did on me. It was the first time I'd seen the East End put on screen, not being reduced,
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and I'm sort of guessing that in those days, the stars that you saw on the silver screen, they were kind of untouchable, more untouchable than they are now.
They are now. That was very different. Absolutely, it was a very different era, of course, because the studios kept them that way, and of course tried to keep them out of scandals, etc. But mainly, I think the strange thing for me is, and Brando was an enormous influence on me, Jimmy Dean, were American actors. It was very strange, really. When I look at it, it was American actors.
Well, Hollywood
were my heroes.
Huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were my heroes. But the British films, in the late 40s, there were people like Margaret Lockwood and Trisha Rock and actors like this. But for me, it was American actors.
But your journey started, you went to, am I right in saying it was Rains Foundation School and the East 15 acting school?
I'm the first scholarship ever to the East 15. I'm the first intake among the first students. I think there were about 10 of us.
I hope you've got a blue plaque on the wall.
No.
I'll ask them. I'll talk to them. But no, I mean, that's fantastic because you did have this. You were one of, I've spoken to obviously John Lyons in another one of these as well, and the East End seemed to be really rife with talent in terms of people coming through and wanting to do this with their lives. And am I also right in thinking Joan Littlewood was a big influence on you?
Joan Littlewood's work was a big influence, and meeting her in a way casually, that was a big influence, and that's how I joined the Saturday morning classes at the Theatre Royal Stratford when I was about 17, 18. And they went off, Maggie Berry, who was the founder of East 15, but they went off the company to America. And during that time, I got married and had a baby. By the time they came back, I was 20 and I had my first child. And then Maggie Berry rang me and said, we are starting a drama school. And we are offering you the first scholarship.
That's fantastic.
It was fantastic. So it wasn't, Joan was an enormous influence in the fact that I went to the theatre from about the age of 15, you know, the usual, I sat in the gallery, all of that, and watched characters, people that were part of my life on the stage, and not be not be looked down on.
So what was your first role? Because I know an early one was Diary of a Young Man, and that was a series written for you by John McGrath and Troy Kennedy Martin.
In fact, I was on television before that. It was at the last, I think it was my last term at drama school. Roger Smith, who was part of the Troy Kennedy Martin, John McGrath group, came to direct a play at the East 15. Well, he came to, we improvised a story from newspapers and that. And Roger came and he went on. I'm not sure if it was he who recommended me, but in fact, I'm in Muriel Sparks. I think it's Girls of a Slender Means, but that was the first one.
And when would that have been, Anne?
That would be, well, I went to drama school 1962, I think. Wow. That would have been about 1964. I was still at drama school when I got that job.
Well, here we are in 2021, and one of the most remarkable things I think about you, Anne, is how many times, and it started with that Diary of a Young Man, I think, but how many times you've actually had parts written for you, yes, which really shows what these directors and producers and writers think of you. So
it shows what the writers think.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, though. I mean, it really shows that people value your work.
Yeah, it is actually quite extraordinary when you think about it, Rick. Yeah, I tried to think of why that might be. How can I say, what is this? I don't know. I don't know.
I think you're being very, very modest, because it just shows what a talent you are. And am I also right in thinking, because there's so much about you, I have to check whether I'm right, that you were in That Was the Week That Was.
I was. I got thrown into Hampstead Ponds.
Tell us about that.
Horrible. What I remember of it, it was horrible. It was dead of night. It really was like night filming. Bitterly cold, and I got thrown in. I don't know what the story, I've forgotten what it was about, but I've never forgotten the horror of hitting that cold water.
Well, I wish I could see that now, because the worst thing about TV at that time is it all seemed to be recorded on reels, and then those reels got taped over. So now everything gets kept and you can see it again on gold. But in those days, if they didn't have enough film, they just taped over something else.
Terrible. I was reading somewhere, they're really, really wonderful programs have just been erased.
I know. It's incredible. We were talking the other day, I can't remember who I was talking about it to. I think it was either John Lyons or Brian Croucher. There was this wonderful play called Edna the Inebriate Woman.
Yes, Patricia Haynes.
Fantastic, yes. It doesn't exist anymore. They taped over it.
And that was the performance of a lifetime.
Oh, it was incredible, and I was quite young when I saw it, but it really left an impression on me. Oh, and I'm sure that it would have been shown so many times since on stations that we have now, but it's no longer with us.
Absolutely, it left such an impression on me that when in the storylines of EastEnders and CORA had to become homeless and had a kind of psychotic breakdown,
of course, yeah.
I had to steel myself and say, do not remember anything that Patricia Haynes did, erase it from your mind, because it had lived in me. I'd been so impressed by it. So
no, it was incredible because, you know, I can't remember what age I was, but it definitely made an impression on me, which is why I still talk about it with people.
Yeah.
And there are people, you know, everybody seems to remember it. So, so it obviously was a great piece of work. So you've been in TV, you've been on stage, you've been in film. How does it differ for you, and which of these do you prefer?
It's a very interesting question, of course. It's very dependent, Rick, on what the material is. It's a very different, the experience of acting on stage. And for me, I've always led on the stage. I've always had a leading role. I've always led a company. So that's a different experience anyway. You know, you're leading a company, you're setting up, you're helping to set up an atmosphere where people want to hold you and where you want to hold them, so that it becomes, you know, a team thing. So that's a wonderful thing. And you have an incredible response with the audience. I mean, I call it's like listening to music. You have to hear, and when you hear that pin drop, that's just magic. That's when you hear the intake from an entire audience of silence, complete silence, and you know that they're with you. That's absolutely thrilling. It's a very different thing with film or television, which are called film. It's the same process. That's very much, for me anyway, that for me, I have to let the camera come inside me. It's not me performing to the camera. The camera comes inside me, if you see what I mean. Yeah, no,
I do. And of course, you've also been a very successful director and writer. So does that get easier because you've done stage work and you've done film and TV work? When it comes to being a director and writer, does that make it easier for you in terms of working with the people that you're working with?
I think it certainly makes it easier as a director, because you understand the needs of actors. You understand what they're going through. You understand what they might be needing at any particular time. So yes, I would say that. Writing, no, I'm not sure about writing. Is such a different, for me anyway, it shouldn't be. And in fact, many actors, as you well know, become very, very fine writers. I just find that so hard.
Well, I'm going to ask you a really hard question now. If you could only choose one, so you can either work as an actress on TV, an actress on stage, be a writer or a director, and you can only do one, which one do you choose for Ann Mitchell? Writing. That's what you love most. Well, listen, you're great at all of them. So thankfully you don't have to choose just one. And because you are so well thought of in your profession, not just by the fans of what people see you in, but also the people that work within the profession as well. You've won a lot of awards. I think it's fair to say that you've won more than most, and you've even got a doctorate from the University of East London. Yes. So again, I'm going to ask you, you know, which of these gives you most joy, because you've been recognised in so many fields?
Well, the doctorate, I think. The doctorate was a very extraordinary experience, very extraordinary, partly because, of course, my background, my grandmother couldn't read or write. My mother left school at 13, and she was remarkably bright and smart. And my beloved stepfather also left school at 14. So for me to be given a doctorate for my work, I only wish that they'd been alive when that happened. So that was the most extraordinary thing.
That's, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic, because I don't know anybody else that's got a doctorate. So I feel very honoured to know you, just for that reason. So people know you from continuous drama, but you've been in comedy. I know you've been in comedy recently, and
for anyone watching out there, I'm very funny.
I can vouch for that. You are very funny. But you've been in historical drama. I mean, your range is so varied. But again, you know, how do you choose these roles when they are so varied? Do you deliberately choose them because they're varied, or do you just read the scripts and go, "That's great. I don't care what genre it is. I love it."
In the theatre, I've been able to make choices. I can't say that that's the case for me in television or film. Oh, unless you mean I get a script and I reject things, yeah, and I accept things. I mean, I've never been in the position of film or television where I could. You know, where I could make a choice. I can make a choice once the script's sent to me, or I've been up for a meeting, etc. Yes, I try not to. I try not to do too much now, but it's very difficult because people, casting directors and directors want you to repeat what you've done. They want you to make a contribution to their work, yeah, from what you've done. So I try very hard to choose, if I'm offered, something that stretches me. Everything in the theatre, because I've been so lucky to play such amazing roles and, you know, great classical roles, stretches me. On television, I look for, if it's possible and offered, things that will stretch me.
Well, you get some very strong characters, and I would
think
that now you're chosen because somebody wants a strong character.
I think that's true.
And I think that's just as true of the comedy as well as the drama.
The strange thing is that I was nominated for the Olivier for not a strong woman. That was very, very interesting to me. It was very timid. It was a butcher, female butcher, but she was incredibly timid and incredibly broken internally. And that's interesting.
Well, to me, you see, that has its own strength. And if you look at the character that you recently played in Silent Witness, which was, I wouldn't say a timid character, but it was a frightened character. Yeah, but it's still, there's a strength of characters still there, and I would think that's probably what they look for, and that to me is what you always have in all your parts. Is there anything that you regret that you've turned down, or that you've almost turned down and thought, thank God I didn't?
Okay, let me think. Yes, Through the Leaves, the one that I was nominated for the Olivier for. Okay. My mother was very ill at the time.
Yeah.
Very, very ill. The director, Daniel Kramer, had seen me in the John Barton's 12-hour Tantalus at the RSC, and he started sending me scripts. And because I was looking after my mother, I was kind of turning everything down, yeah? And I turned down Through the Leaves, and then Simon Callow rang me and said, if I do it with you, will you do it? And I said, yes. And that was, we started off at the Southwark Playhouse, right? And we transferred to the West End. And I was nominated for an Olivier. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and it just shows how fate sometimes takes a hand in everything we do. You mentioned directors there, and you've worked with some fantastic directors, because you've worked with Ken Loach, you've worked with Ken Russell, you've worked with Steve McQueen. Who's your favourite? And maybe it's someone we haven't heard of.
Well, you should have heard of him. You may not have done. My favourite is Philip Prowse of the Citizens Theatre, Glasgow, of the period when Philip Prowse, Giles Habergirl, Robert David MacDonald, it was like a triumvirate, ran the Citizens. And I was lucky enough to be a leading actor with them, with amazing choices. And Philip is a designer. He's a very visual guy. And then from designing, he went into directing. And for me, it was just the marriage made in heaven, because I would step on the stage and in these glorious sets, and of course, in the most wonderful frocks that you could possibly imagine, I'm feeling like $1 million and lit like a dream, It was the whole company, the whole ethos of the company was phenomenal. It was the most exciting, adventurous, avant-garde, if you like, theatre in Europe. There's no question of that.
Because I'm guessing as well as the directors, if you've got great set designers and you've got great costumes, that all adds to the way you're feeling about working.
Of course, you just step on there. I mean, if you step on the set, you think, oh God, this isn't going to work. This is just dreadful. But so you have to compensate for the set. You have to compensate for the frock, but never with Philip Prowse.
So do you get to keep anything? And did you get to keep any?
They're very strange about that. They're very, very strange about that. Strangely enough, Silent Witness gifted me the dress. I didn't even ask for it.
Oh wow!
They gifted it to me. They're very odd. You pay if it's television. You can ask, and you pay for the things you've worn. It's a tricky one with actors, because you might have worn something really fabulous, and you buy it, and then when you wear it in real life, you feel like the character. So it never really works. I don't think any longer do I think it's worth paying for something you've worn.
No, not at all. And I'm not going to mention any names, but quite a few actors and actresses that I know have nicked stuff, and they don't. Well, they might have told me during a moment of alcoholism, but I don't think they tell too many people. But
I've never nicked anything.
No, I wouldn't have thought that you had. You're far too nice.
I've asked for something. I've thought, oh, I did such a good job. Why aren't they offering me this? And they've met with some frostiness, I have to say.
Yeah, they do. I think if you're the star, you've done all this work. I think it's the least you deserve. So
that's what I thought. That's what I thought. No, not the case. No.
No, well, if there was anything that I could give you from this interview, I would add, but there's honestly nothing here that you'd want. I'm going to come on to perhaps the two best known roles that you've had to people watching this, and I'm going to start with Dolly in Widows, which was just an extraordinary portrayal of such a great character of a show that even went to a film because it was so popular, which of course you then appeared in, which you can talk about. But how did that come about? Because it was also the spin-off, She's Out, and it was the most extraordinary series and the most extraordinary role. Fantastic portrayal of Dolly.
Thank you. It was Widows 1, Widows 2, and then She's Out. It came about, apparently, it's quite a lovely story. The casting director, who's now passed, Marilyn Johnson, when she got the script. It was Linda LaPlante's first script. She'd never written for television. And Marilyn said that she showed great interest in me, Marilyn, yeah. The director was Ian Toynton, yes. It was his first television series. You know, he's a very experienced television director, but this was directing a whole series. About 18 months before this script arrived on Marilyn's desk, Linda was writing it, I had an interview with Ian Toynton, the director, for Chinese Detective, right? Yeah. And in it was a small part. I was working as a receptionist at the time. You know, I'm a single parent, 2 kids. Yeah, and I got this pages or, interview. And for the first time, Rick, I counted the lines, which I'd never, ever done. And there were 6. And I thought, I'm kind of 40 years of age. I've had plays written for me in the theatre. And all this business can offer me is 6 lines. And so I went in and I read, and Ian Toynton, the director, said, that's fabulous. We'd love you to do it. And I said, no, I'm worth more than this. And I didn't do it. And I went back to being a telephonist. And 18 months later, when Marilyn Johnson, the casting director, said to Ian Toynton, now directing Widows, my name, he said, that's the kind of pride we need.
Perfect. Yeah. You see, you've made these right choices, and sometimes we make choices and we don't know that they're the right ones at the time. Yeah. But that certainly was the right choice, because no one's ever going to forget that those episodes of Widows and you as Dolly. So a lot of
wonderful role written by Linda, wonderful. Well, it was a gift.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. But most actors and actresses are lucky if they get one role that people remember them for. They do lots of things, and they're really good in all of them, but they're lucky if they get one role. But you have had 2, and then suddenly you turn up as Cora in EastEnders, which is this most magnificent character, so magnificent they keep bringing you back, which is absolutely brilliant, and the storylines have been brilliant. So how did you get into EastEnders? Was it that somebody thought of you, of the way that you were as Dolly, and put those together, or was it completely unattached from that?
Oh, I think it was very attached to. I think Dolly was a favourite of lots and lots of people. So I think it was very, very attached to that. I was called asking me to go in, and I read and auditioned like anyone else, and I got the part. And it was very strange, because at the time when I got it, I was doing a play at Hampstead, and I couldn't, they wanted the play to transfer to the West End, but I'd already said that I would go to EastEnders, and it didn't transfer. It was very, very strange.
And had you watched EastEnders before?
Yes, very much. Periods of my life, I'd been quite a fan. Various periods. I think, like a lot of people who do with long dramas, long series dramas, you watch it for a period, then I stopped, and then I would go back to it, and so on. Yeah.
And you mentioned it before, the fantastic storyline where you were homeless. That must have been a tremendous storyline for you.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great gift to do. It was terrific. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely superb as that. I always felt quite sorry for the character playing Max. You gave him such a hard time all the time. That
No, but he deserved it, didn't he?
absolutely,
I
yeah,
don't know why. It was weird because Max, Jake,
yeah.
is so popular with women. I could never understand it because I thought he's constantly committing adultery.
I know.
Whenever you went with him, women were kind of, oh, Max.
I know women as well who fell for the character. I don't get it either, but then I've never understood women, and my wife Beverly will tell you that. So are you going to come back as Cora at any point?
I don't know, Rick. The door is open. That's what they say. So I will never know. It's a difficult one at the moment because none of my family are there. All the family have left. So it would depend, I guess, on...
You've got Rainey.
Is Rainey still? Oh, she's still
Rainey's
there.
still in it, yeah.
Yeah, she's still there. But no, I think you'd need a few. I think maybe Jacqueline Josser or the other lovely young girl is dead, of course. But we'd need I think, couple to come back.
Right, again, we'll have a word because I don't think there's anybody watching this now who doesn't want you back. So one thing that even Eastenders fans might not know, though, is that Cora wasn't your first character in Eastenders.
No, it wasn't. Many, many years before, I'd played a woman who'd left the square and I think had gone to Australia, somewhere like that, and a kind of, how can I put it, created a new persona for herself. So she was very middle class, and she'd come back to the square to reconnect with a character, but she died of cancer in the script, yes.
So, but then you come back as Cora, and
years later,
the rest is history. One of the most so many fantastic things about you, but one of the most fantastic things about you is the way that you love to give back, and by your own admission, this profession has been absolutely wonderful to you. But I know that you really care about the young actors and actresses coming through, and you're a patron of Clean Break, you're on the board of directors at the Unity Theatre Trust, you're a visiting lecturer at the Guildhall. I mean, it all sounds so rewarding, but I just don't know how you fit it all in, to be honest.
Well, it's been a while. At that point, maybe it's been a while now since I've taught on that kind of level and with that consistency. I taught at the Guildhall, RADA, East 15, Rose Bruford, WAC Arts, the old WAC Arts. And I loved it. I absolutely love teaching, and I love to be in contact with young people and possibly help them a little bit, especially kids from a disadvantaged background, economically disadvantaged, because that's what I know, and because that's what one has to fight so hard for. If you come from a poorer background, you have the fight is very hard indeed. So
it's that old East End spirit again.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah.
So do you
help each other?
Do you find yourself automatically becoming a bit of a matriarch on the set then as well for the younger actors that you're working with?
Yes.
I think that's lovely. I think that's great. I can imagine you doing that. So I think that's brilliant. And while we're on the subject of young actors coming through, tell us a little bit about your son, because a lot of people don't know that he's an up-and-coming actor.
Well, he's not up and coming, really.
He's
very well established. He's a writer-director, and indeed an actor, and a very good one. But he's made history twice as a writer. His play, The Front Line is the first play ever set in modern times to be performed on Shakespeare's stage at the Globe Theatre. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Second one was his play with a musical, The Lightning Child, first play ever with a musical. Oh, he's won countless awards, countless for acting and directing. Yeah, but now, he's doing this. I think it's fabulous. P&O cruises.
Yeah.
Want to attract perhaps a younger audience, a younger clientele, for the cruises, a little bit younger, or much younger, diverse, inclusive, yeah. And my son and his partner in life, she's a wonderful actress called Sasha Frost. They are the first. They wanted real couples, the P&O, and they've done this advert, and it's wonderful. They look so beautiful. She's black and Jay's white, and they just look fabulous. They look like film stars, both of them.
That's fantastic. Tell us your son's name so that everybody can look out for him.
P-H-E Walker. Jay Walker is my son.
Jay Walker. Okay, well, we'll get everybody to watch out for him, because a lot of people probably will have seen him, but don't know he's your son, maybe. So.
Yeah. Well, I think they will have seen him now. Yeah,
yes, definitely seen him now, but maybe.
So my eldest son is not retired, but he was professor of fashion at the Amsterdam Fashion Institute, and now he's one of the founders of the Digital Fashion Academy, which again is bringing the fashion industry to more diverse, more inclusive, environmentally sound. So I'm very blessed, and I'm very proud of them. They're two lovely men.
Well, they've got a very talented mother, so they had to be talented themselves, whatever fields that they chose. Yeah, your son that's in the same profession, Shay, does he ask your advice, or do you keep your lives separate?
No, does he ask my advice? No, he doesn't ask my advice. Quite deliberately doesn't. He did a bit when he was younger. He first was at grammar school. No, he doesn't. Keeps everything very close to his chest. But now, with the self-tapes we have to do as actors, he's got all the equipment, it's all brilliant. So I go to him, and he will direct me in the self-tape. Sometimes I get a bit cross and say, don't direct me. But it turns out he's been terrific at, I've always got a job once he's put.
Yeah, that's a typical mother-son relationship, though, isn't it? So I think we can all recognise this. Yeah. Okay, we mentioned Silent Witness, and we know that you've done that filming recently, but you never stop working. So what else is in the pipeline for you at the moment? What can we see you in?
Just come out, Rick, is a movie that I did before, an independent movie I did before the pandemic. And I play a Texan outlaw, the lover of the Lord. And I love the film. I think the film is terrific. It's directed by Dan Simpson. And the DOP, it's just the director of photography, Dennis Madden, is just, well, they're like paintings. Every shot is like a painting. And we filmed in Spain, standing in for Mexico. And I loved it, and I'm on a horse and all of that.
Oh, well, there's my new screensaver right there then, as soon as the stills come out for that. And how's your Texan accent then?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Get that blood over the table.
Well, that's absolutely perfect. And I'm so glad that In the Fox's Den has got the exclusive on that one. And so thank you for that. So I don't really want to wrap this up, but I know we've got to. But before we do, I'm going to ask you what roles that you wish that you had played, and what roles do you still want to play that you think you're going to still be able to, and let's hope that that they come true.
That's a painful question in a way, Rick, because not long ago, I was offered by the citizens to do Long Day's Journey into Night. And I was also asked who I would like to play Tyrone. And I said Simon Callow, because he's just made for that role. But I had a year to prepare for it. But I found the learning of 5 hours script on stage was too much for me. So I had to withdraw.
Well, that's a great show, but
months.
I think 5 hours would be too much for most people.
Yes, and at my age now, it became instead of a joy, and it's a role I've wanted to play all my life. Instead of the joy of that, it became a terror. And I stepped out after 3 months when I just felt I was having actors' nightmares, everything. I'd never had an actor's dream in my life until I was 80. You know.
Oh, wow. Well, the one thing I will say is you certainly don't look anywhere near 80. You don't act anywhere near 80. Even if you're not going to take that role, I'm sure there's going to be lots more roles that people can see you.
Exactly, but not 5 hours.
But not 5 hours. No,
I would like to be, if I'm honest, I would like to be in an American comedy series. I would love
American comedy series.
Yeah, I would love that.
So if anybody is watching this,
yes,
make Anne's dream come true. We're going to put links on here. Then please get in contact with me so that we can get Anne into an American comedy series. Personally, I would like to see you in the new Curb Your Enthusiasm. Because I love that. And
me too.
I'd love to see you in that. So
I love that.
Let's see if we can do that.
Glorious.
And
yeah,
sorry, I was going to say I don't really want to stop you at all because I could go on for weeks with this. Yeah. But unfortunately, we do have to bring it to an end. But thank you so much. We didn't cover half the things that we should have covered. But this has been absolutely fantastic. I always love talking to you. I always love being with you, and I hope to see you in the flesh very soon. But on behalf of everybody watching this, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Thank you, Anne Mitchell.
Those who are watching. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I love being with Anne. She's a real joy, and as she said, she's quite funny as well. So she plays comedy just as well as she plays drama. Please subscribe to this channel, the In the Fox's Den channel, because we always need subscribers, and it's our way of letting you know what's coming up. We have had a bit of a break, but we'll be doing more now in the run up to Christmas, so don't miss out. Visit our website www.agentfoxmedia.com, and if you're free on the, I don't know whether you can see that there, we hold every month a jam session with some fantastic musicians, and they're often session musicians that you will have heard, but maybe they didn't get the credit they deserve. But it's a fantastic night, and it's over at the Mason's Arms in near Kensal Green Station or Kensal Rise Station, I can't remember, but it's in the Harrow Road. And if you go on to www.metrojam.co.uk, there you go, on my t-shirt, you will be able to see when it's on. I believe the next one is on Thursday, the 21st of October, 2021. So it'll be great to see you in the flesh, because I will be there. But for today, I hope you enjoyed that wonderful interview with the great Anne Mitchell, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.